Hello and welcome to the Guitar School Network. My name is Marc Seal and this is the Ultimate Guitar Show. All right, I've planned out an awesome show for you guys today. It's riff of the show. We're going to do Rush, a song called Closer to the Heart. And the reason I chose Rush is because they're one of those bands that either you're totally hip to as a guitar player and you've already learned a bunch of their tunes and you love them, or if you're not hip to them, you need to be. So hopefully you'll check out a bunch of other tunes, but we're going to learn Closer to the Heart. It's one of my favorite little intros that Rush does. It's a cool little picking pattern thing they got going on there with some neat little chord shapes. So I think you're going to dig that. And then in the All About Technique section, I'm going to teach you a really cool little hammer-on solo that I did on one of my songs called Melodies from Heaven. And it's a great way to practice your hammer-ons and maybe give you some ideas for some of your own solos down the road. Sound advice, I'm going to give you my favorite of the wettest sounds, and I'll explain that when we get to it. And for the mailbag, I'm going to answer a question. I may have answered it before, but I'm going to answer it again because it does come up a lot. People always want to know the right way to classically finger pick, so I'm going to just give a quick demonstration, a quick idea for exercises on how to do that. So sit back and enjoy the rest of the Ultimate Guitar Show. All About Technique. All right, this is a good one. We're going to do some hammer-ons. And each week I try to give you a little bit different technique or a combination of techniques to physically make you a better player. And that's what we're going to work on today. Today it's all about the hammer-on. And if you don't know what a hammer-on is, I'll explain real quick. It's basically when you hit one note and then throw your next finger down onto the next note. And it can be any combination of notes or patterns. But a couple of examples, I want to give you a couple of exercises, then I want to show you the solo we're going to do. That's actually an excerpt from one of my solos. But basically, here's a hammer-on. If I go my first finger on the 5th fret of the first string, hit that note and hammer on to my second finger on the 6th fret. Notice that I did not hit it with the pick. I only hit the first note and hammer on to the next note. Now I can also do that multiple times. I can go 5, hammer to 6, hammer to 8. I can do 4 notes, 5 notes, 6. It does not matter. You can also throw those throw pull-offs in there with it, which would be the exact opposite. But we're not going to get into that. It's all about the hammer-ons today. The patterns I would have you practice individually would be to practice just hammering 4 notes in a row. For example, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then try a half step to a whole step, which would be 5, hammer to 6, hammer to 8. Which means I'm talking about a half step, 5 to 6, to a whole step, 6 to 8. Then we could try the opposite, a whole step. So we're going to go 5, hammer to 7, and then 7, hammer to 8. So it'd be a whole step to a half step. So you basically have 3 patterns you can practice there. You can do the chromatic, all 4 notes, half step to whole step, and then whole step to half step. And again, keep in mind all the variables. Try this on different spots of the neck. And basically the solo that I'm going to give you today, the excerpt, is going to cover all the different patterns. We're going to do half step to whole step, we're going to do just a whole step, etc. So you'll see as we go along into that. Let me play for you what we're going to learn today. And keep in mind that we have the tablature available, so just click the little link that says tablature, and you'll be able to look at the tab and figure this out. But I'm going to play through it fast, and then I'll give you a couple of close-up shots so you can see at regular speed and slow down and all that. And then get to work on it and try to get them as clean as possible. One side note that I wanted to mention for today with the hammer-ons is really trying to keep the other strings quiet. If you're hammering on, say, on the 2nd string, you'd want to lean your first finger back over a little bit so it keeps the first string quiet. And you might want to rest your palm on the lower strings and things like that. You might even want to use the tip of your fingers over here on the string above it. For example, the tip of my first finger might want to touch the 3rd string and keep it quiet. So definitely keep in mind your muting, because if you just stand all your fingers up real tall and do your hammer-ons, by the time you get done, you can hear some of that ambient noise, and you want to get rid of that. All right, so without further ado, here's the riff of the week, or I'm sorry, the technique of the week, if you will. And don't forget to check out the tablature for it. Here's what it sounds like at regular speed, and then we'll do the close-ups. Now let's do the close-ups and then go ahead and learn it. Sound advice. Okay, sound advice. I said I'm going to give you the wet of the wet sounds. Well, my favorite combination when I'm doing ethereal sounds, and I used this just in a concert that I played last night actually, and it really came off well. It's a combination of several effects. The effects that you're going to want to use for this are reverb, delay, chorus, and phaser. So we're going to combine the chorus with the phaser. Now the settings that I have are pretty wet on all of them. The reverb, I have it at about 4 seconds decay time, which is quite a bit, and the effect volume at about 70% compared to the direct volume. The delay sound is about 750 milliseconds, so it's a longer delay, longer between the intervals, as well as the feedback on it is 35%, so it keeps feedback for quite a while as well, and the effect level is about 20% of the original volume. So you can hear this. You got the delay in there, it's a long interval in between, it's about 20% the same volume as the direct. The phaser is oscillating at about 30%, or a rate of maybe 30% if you will, and the effect level is about 50%. Everything else is 50 across the board, so whatever phaser you have, just kind of level everything out and then put your rate at about 30, and that sounds pretty hip. And then my chorus is going at a little bit faster rate at 40 with a depth of 50 and an effect volume of 60. So 40, 50, 60 on the chorus. I have them running in the order, let's see, what order do I have? It's going into the phaser, is going through the chorus, is going through the delay, ultimately through the verb. So everything gets watered down through the reverb. Here's the sound, and what's neat about this sound is it sounds great for chords, for individual notes, for volume swells, and for whammy bar stuff. So I'll give you a little bit, a couple of different examples for each one. Here's some chord swell stuff. With a chord swell, what I'm doing is I'm actually striking the chord and then bringing the volume up. Now with the whammy bar, it just adds a little bit more fluctuation in there even than was already there. Check this out. It's just that real watery kind of sound. With single notes, it sounds like this, and I'll keep the volume up for this. So you can hear it's just this real kind of wet, ethereal sound. If you do individual notes with it also, with the volume swell and the whammy bar, you can come up with some also really cool effects. Check this out. So again, the effects that you're going to want to use for this to get this really ultra wet sound would be the verb, the delay, the phaser, and the chorus. And then you can go back, rewind this, watch it a few times if you want to regather the settings there. But check it out, it's kind of a fun sound to play around with, and maybe see if you can write some of your own little intros or maybe breakdowns in songs and things like that. So play around with it.